Hey guys, so here we are. I'm going through, before I paint the Churchill here and prime him, which is the next step. I figured since I'm priming, I don't want to do just the Churchill. I want to do a bunch at one time. So I'm going through and doing the half tracks for the U.S. Rifle Company. These are, unlike the Churchill, which, whoops, as you can see, is a combination of metal and resin, is actually a combination of resin pieces and plastic, which are shipped on these sprues. A common complaint I have about Battlefront is that they provide these kind of things, but not a lot of guidance other than a picture, maybe a really small postage stamp sized photocopy of the actual Mini as construction, and sort of leave it up to you. And since they're going for a non-language specific instruction set, they don't actually explain, you can swap this one or this one, but hoping the images will do the job. They could take a few lessons from guys like Lego as far as producing language independent instructions. As it is, the instructions, while not horrible and just not the best, and while you can go on the web or look at particular constructed photos, I really think it's, I'm not sure why it's so hard for them to provide what I consider to be more detailed instructions. Now, you'll notice I'm using the snippers here. You don't have to use snippers to detach. You could just, sort of yank them out, but then you'd have to file them down. And I find that this provides a much more satisfactory result, and also less work on the end as far of cleaning them up using the file, especially in these plastic pieces, where you don't want to do too much filing because you're going to end up damaging the piece fairly significantly. Again, this is one of the places where it highlights things, such as I have to figure out from the picture exactly how this little gun ring where the emplacement is going to go on the device. I'll have to refer to the pictures, because with this particular pack, no instruction picture came at all. It came with a ton of minis, again, and the minis are even worse because they give you no hint as to how they're supposed to be grouped. You're supposed to figure it out, which I suppose is part and parcel for the hobby, but for beginners or, folks who play inconsistently like I do, it's kind of annoying, even though I appreciate they're trying to make it very customizable. And there are customization pieces in this kit, such as, choosing the top of the Churchill, but I wish they'd make just a little bit more effort in making it clear to the construction people, guys assembling the minis like me, exactly what's going on. Now, my next step is to finish these. Then I'm going to use the zip kicker to accelerate the Zap-A-Gap, and then I will assemble all these. Then they're going out to the prime, which I'll probably film because I've never filmed priming, and then as we back to after they dry, back down here to start getting painted. So we'll go to that next. Hey guys, I'm actually in the process now of doing the gluing. Just wanted to show you a little quick. You may have noticed in the last segment, or in this one, that sort of dull noise in the background, that white sound. That's the fan I've got running in the background, which I think I've mentioned before. One thing that you need to know about the zip kicker, if you don't, is it smells to high heaven. You'll notice I've got the gloves on, and that's because when I start gluing stuff after I've applied the zip kicker, which I have, the stuff has a tendency to dry so fast it can actually dry onto your hands, making your hands all sticky, or worse, getting you stuck to the minis. Nothing that you really want to be doing. Now, while I was talking, I already sprayed this with zip kicker, which I usually apply it wet, but I'm now, while we're talking, doing it while it's dry. Normally it takes anywhere from 45 seconds to a minute and a half for the stuff to dry adequately. With the zip kicker, this stuff dries in 10 to 15 seconds. So I usually apply it and then mentally count in my mind back down, 15, 14, 13, until it's done. In this case, it's pretty much already it's dried, or at least it's dried enough that I don't have to worry about it. The zip kicker really increases the speed, especially if you're doing lots of units like small men. I find the zip kicker makes it much tolerable when doing construction line. Now when I do the actual rifle company, I'll do a little video showing exactly how, at least the methods I'm currently using for applying them. And again, it's kind of a case of turning it into a production line and getting as many guys done as quickly as possible. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. The suggestions I've picked up off the web that hopefully might, if you haven't done it, give you a little bit of help on the matter. So, as you see, I just got a little glue on these, but since I'm wearing the gloves, my fingers aren't going to get all sticky, and my hand isn't going to have this gunk on it for the rest of the day. And because I've got my particular workshop here is down in my basement, I've got to have that vent running to help keep air ventilated down here, and also to keep it from stinking, because this is also my wife's craft area as well as mine, and she isn't going to appreciate coming down to work on a quilt and having to breathe in toxic fumes. So, again, as you can see, I'm applying the front wheels as well as the half tracks, and this is again a case of just waiting about 10 to 15 seconds for it to sufficiently adhere, and as you can see, they're on, and voila, we've got the first assembled truck. And now I just have to put on these other pieces and do the same for the other units, and then they're ready for priming. So there you go. And get this off because I don't want to touch the camera while I'm wearing these. Maybe I'll edit this out. Who knows? There we go. Hey, so here we are. As you can see, we now have 5 completed half tracks. You'll notice that this one, and here's an example of the customization I was talking about that Battlefront does. That is nice. You can see this guy's got a ring, whereas this guy, and it took me a while to figure this out from their really base instructions, you can also have a mounted 50 cal on a pole instead. And you'll notice the trucks on the front have this little winch system, which instead could have been a separate piece like this for, I guess, an empty winch or a smaller tow winch. This information all is provided in incredibly non-specific detail on the back of the box, and it takes a little decoding to figure out what they're talking about. One last thing I wanted to show you is the zip kicker. While it's really great stuff, 10 seconds is the drying time I seem to have worked with here. I want to show you my glove. You see that shininess? That is dried glue on the glove from just handling glue stuff, because the zip kicker causes stuff to dry so quickly that if you tap anything, your fingers can get stuck to the mini and pull the piece off you just glued. This is particularly something you have to be aware of, because when you glue stuff with the zip kicker, you have to commit or back off and start over, because otherwise when you try to put something on, it dries so fast that if you apply it and then pull it off and apply it again, or you put it on incorrectly, you will find that it's going to dry instantly wrong, or worse, the stuff is going to dry like it is on my glove, where you'll have a thin film of dried glue on top of the piece you were trying to glue, and it won't actually adhere, and then you have to put on a second layer or try and scrape it off. Not a crisis, but it's something you'd be aware of. So now we're going to priming.